আচ্ছা, এই রিভিউ অফ দ্য মডেলিং অ্যাজ এ টুল ফর এনভায়রনমেন্টাল ইম্প্যাক্ট অ্যাসেসমেন্ট। ফার্স্ট অফ অল হচ্ছে এখানে অ্যাবস্ট্রাক্টের মধ্যে যেটা বলা হচ্ছে, স্টাডি অফ দ্য মডেলিং অ্যাজ এ টুল ফর এনভায়রনমেন্টাল ইম্প্যাক্ট অ্যাসেসমেন্ট as carried out, and this is done by identification and receiving of existing models for integrated assessment, analysis, evaluation and creation of an inventory of existing models relevant for environmental impact assessment. Several decision support systems DSS model were also reviewed and presented as tools to aid the predictions impact in EIA studies. It was then concluded that the use of the modeling tool in EIA will increase the ability to present the quantified results from the field studies, which will contribute tremendously towards the improving environmental practice and improve the quality of the EIA reports. দেন keywords এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে সেটা হচ্ছে কি এনভায়রনমেন্টাল ইম্প্যাক্ট মডেলস এন্ড কোয়ালিটি পলিউশনস এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে সেটা হচ্ছে যে introductions এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে, whenever a few development is to be undertaking an environmental impact assessment, yeah, is carried out to identifying the potential impact assessment associated with the proposed project, so that the right mitigation measures can be put in place. EIA is also required for a proposed project either to completely with planning and environmental regulations to the safety cooperative standards. The environmental impacts of a proposed projects are systematically collected, analyzed, and presented to inform a decision-making process. The impact analysis starts with identifications of impacts and then followed by evaluation, predictions of impacts, and the impacts evaluation prediction phase of this analysis is very significant because it brings to the force the risk that the impacts have on the environment, and presently there is lack of awareness among the stakeholders and the practitioners of the environmental management on the use of the mathematical and computer software models as tool for the predicting the environmental impact of project. Therefore there is the need to carry out a review of existing model as tool for environmental impact assessment and mitigation. The aims of this paper therefore is to identify and carry out the inventory of existing models to set out the criteria for models and selections, prioritize, select the identified model as tools for EIA and mitigation. Then environmental modeling এর মধ্যে modeling is a method of simulating real life solutions with mathematical equations to forecast and predict their future behaviors. It is an analytical tool which enables the quantifications of the impact which can affect the environment by simulating the environmental conditions. Open models are computer technology to predict the chemical and physical effects of a particular actions within the within an environment, and a model may help to explain the environment as a system and to study the effects of different components of environment and to make the predictions about their behaviors. By mathematically representing a simplified version of the environmental system, a reasonable alternative scenarios can be predicted, tested, and compared. A flow chart on the environmental models presented in figure 1 and could be used to illustrate the mathematical modeling approach. Model development এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে, model development involves the mathematical derivations of the equation based on the first principles of derivations, and the steps involved in the model development are itemized as follows: carry out the field monitoring, collaborate the existing routes of data, establish the relations by the mathematical equation model, calibrate the equation models, verify the models, adapt the models for predictions or for forecasting. Then model objectives এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে, model objectives should be defined to explain the purpose of using a particular model. The modeling objectives will be profoundly impact the modeling effects required and the process of mathematical modeling, and the predictions put a check on how the effective limited field data are put to use in decision making. Then হচ্ছে model conceptualization এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে, model conceptualization is the process of which the data describing the field conditions are assembled in a systematic way to describe the behavior of the environment as a system and to study the effects of different components of the environment. And the model conceptualization aids in determining the modeling approach and which the model software to use. And then model calibration এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে, this is the process of determining the representative values of models parameters using the field dataset. Model calibration consists of changing values of model input parameters in an attempt to match the field conditions within some acceptable criteria. It requires that the field conditions at a site be particularly characterize lack of proper site characterization may result in the field calibration, model calibration to a set of conditions that are not representative of a actual field condition. Then sensitive analysis এর মধ্যে কি আছে? Sensitive analysis is the process of varying the model input parameters over a reasonable range of uncertainty in the value of model parameters and observing the relative changes in model response. Data for which the model is relatively sensitive would require future characterizations as opposed to the data for which the model is relatively intensive. Model verification এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে, the accuracy of the calibrated model is usually verified before such a model can made useful in future predictions. The process of model the verification may result in the further calibration or the refinement of the model after the model has successfully reproduced measured changes in field condition. It is ready for predictive simulations. A model may be used to predict some future groundwater flow and contamination transport condition. The model may also be used to evaluate different remediation alternatives. Then model applications এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে, the applications of the mathematical models, complements and the support system monitoring is necessarily limited to few station, not necessarily converting all the critical locations, and thus provides a limited picture of the true environmental situation. Then models can provide a more complete picture of the pollutants concentration profiles in space and time, and can be used for assessing the contributions of the various sources and the impact of the alternative control measures, and they are thus valuable tools for environmental impact assessment and management. And the output of the models can be used to improve the setting of monitoring station, and the monitoring results are necessary for validating and calibrating the predictions on the model. And in general, the steps are set out below can be followed for modeling of the most environmental factors. এখানে যেটা আছে, establish the baseline condition, may regulatory standard identify the model that is suitable for the assessment and which can consider the emissions and impacts from the other project, collect the data necessary for the input model, wind speed, wind direction, topography, mitigation measures, collect data on emission from the project and other actions which are to be taken into actions in the assessment, run and model for different scenarios to be considered to enable comparison, assess the indirect and cumulative impacts or the impact interactions against the baseline, and any regulatory standard modeling can be applied to a range of project type and the environmental condition. Most open models are used to predict the impacts on specific physical environmental parameters, although for some projects they can be used to predict the socio-economic impacts. There is a wide range of models which can be used in assessment of the impacts, including the indirect and cumulative impacts. And impact in interaction model can be relatively simple, considering all aspects of the environment, or complex, predicting the behavior of a natural system. Models can be adopted to suit a particular project, with simple model being used for smaller scale projects and more complex models for large scale and the complex project. Then air quality index, air quality models এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে, there are a number of different models available for assessing the impacts of the project on air quality. They can also be used to evaluate the cumulative impacts of a number of projects in an area. The interactions between the emissions and the assessment of the indirect impacts resulting from emissions could be evaluated. Then dispersion model are used to support a variety of the air toxic regulation. Several model users guide and guidance documents are available for this purpose from the support center for the regulatory air models. Then air quality index, AQ এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে, air quality index is a number used to regulatory agencies to communicate with the public how polluted the air is currently, or how polluted it is forecast to become. And as the AQI increases, an increasingly large percentage of the population is likely to experience the increasingly severe adverse health effect. Different countries have their own air quality indicators which are not all consistent. Different countries also use different names for their indicators, such as air quality health index, air pollution index, and the pollutant standard index. According to the Wikipedia, the mathematical formula for computing the air quality index, এটা আমরা আগের ভিডিওতে দেখাচ্ছি, তো সেখানে কি আছে, যেখানে এয়ার কোয়ালিটি ইন্ডেক্স মানে কি, এখান থেকে হচ্ছে আই হাই মাইনাস আই লো, এখানে সি হাই মাইনাস সি লো, সি মাইনাস সি লো প্লাস হচ্ছে কি আই লো, এটা হচ্ছে এখানে আমাদের নোটেশনগুলো দেওয়া আছে। তারপরে এখানে কি আছে, AQI is an index determined by the calculating the degree of pollution in an area at monitoring point and including হচ্ছে কি 5 মেইন pollutants হতে পারে এখানে। ইউনাইটেড স্টেটস হচ্ছে এনভায়রনমেন্টাল প্রোটেকশন এজেন্সি EPI has developed an index which can use the report daily air quality, and this AQI is divided into 6 categories indicating increasing the levels of health concern, and AQI value over 300 represents the hazardous air quality. However, if it is below 50, the air quality is good, and the AQI is based on the 5 pollutants regulated by the Clean Air Act and ground level ozone and particulated matter carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen dioxide. The EPA has established the national ambient air quality standards for all these pollutants to predict the public health. An AQI value of 100 generally responds to standard for the pollutants. And air pollution index API. Air pollution index API is a simple and generalized way to describe the air quality in an area or a region. API level is based on the level of 5 atmospheric pollutants, namely sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, suspended particulate matter, PM10, carbon monoxide, then ozone measured at monitoring stations. Wikipedia 2012. The scale below shows the health and classifications based on the API level. The air quality index API of an area or region denoting by this equation, API equation. Then this is the notation means, and the factor known as the exceedance factor. Exceedance factor is determine the pollutants compliance with the regulatory standard এর সাথে যে compliance সেটা exceedance factor দিয়ে দেখে। Exceedance factor is calculated as observed mean concentration of the criterion pollutant, then হচ্ছে কি mean standard of the respective pollutant সেটাকে বোঝায়। দেন তারপরে হচ্ছে কি যে এখানে হচ্ছে কি air quality terms is often expressed in the terms of low, moderate, high, critical and various pollutants monitored. The concentration ranges from different levels have been selected based on the national standard for different pollutants by calculating an exceedance factor. The ratio of mean concentration of pollutants with that of the respective standard. The air quality index forecast model by API-FM. Air pollution index by API is a concise representation of information on air quality, and it provides a simple and standard way to report daily air pollution concentration based on the measurement of the air pollutions like nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, carbon dioxide, respirable pollutants, particulates, and API-FM makes air pollution forecasting accurate and reliable. In API forecast system, the short range numerical weather prediction NWP forecast from the 5th generation PSU and NCAR mesoscale model MMP is used to provide the qualitative information about the changes in the weather pattern, and this information is used to predict the short-term changes in API associated with the changing weather events. And the input data includes air quality data, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, ozone, sulfur dioxide, RSP collected from the air quality monitor station, real-time meteorological data এগুলো। Then noise modeling. In environmental impact assessment, an environmental noise specialist can undertake computer modeling to predict the potential noise impact of a proposed new development and modifications of existing site or a selected sensitive receptor. The noise prediction software allows us to optimize the noise control measures and to visualize the effects of the noise propagation throughout the industrial activity, housing, or along road or railway lines. The predicted noise level at selected sensitive receptors can be generated together with a noise counter diagram, and there are existing models to predict the noise level for a development which can be adopted to consider the cumulative impacts of the noise from more than one source, and factors such as the wind directions and the speed details of the topography of an area, the project location, and many mitigation measures which may be employed should be included in the model. And noise modeling is used to assess the impact of the construction noise to BS 5228 noise control on the construction on the open site, the industrial noise BS 4142 method for rating the industrial noise affecting mixed residential and industrial areas, road noise in accordance with the procedure details in the Department of Transport and Technical memorandum calculations of the road traffic noise CRTN. Then হচ্ছে কি railway noise in accordance with the predictions details in the development of the transport technical memorandum calculations of the railway noise CRN. Noise modeling can also be undertaken to optimize the plant layout for noise reduction and to suggest the suitable cost effective noise attenuation measures. Then traffic noise prediction models, the mathematical equation for the predicting traffic noise level is given by the Rawat and others and follows. And L হচ্ছে কি 10 log Q 33 log V plus 40 plus হচ্ছে কি 500 by হচ্ছে কি V plus হচ্ছে কি 10 log 1 plus 5P by V minus কত 26.6, where the Q is traffic flow, P is the percentage of the heavy vehicle, V is the average speed of the vehicle. Then হচ্ছে কি LQ যেটা আছে prediction, the Ontario Ministry of the transport and the communication developed it on the traffic noise predictions equation model based on the IEQ concept, যেটা আছে empirical equation developed is as follows. এর একটা আমার ইকুয়েশন দেওয়া আছে, তো এই ইকুয়েশন অনুযায়ী হয়। দেন তার কিছু এখানে নোটেশনের এখানে মানে দেওয়া আছে। দেন দ্য কম্পিউটার সফটওয়্যার বিং ইউজ টু প্র্যাকটিস ফর the basic traffic noise in the CRTN model. Then construction noise এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে সেটা হচ্ছে noise production by the interactions of the construction equipment and the material on which it acts often contribute greatly to the sound level, and the equivalent continuous equal knowledge level বা হচ্ছে কি LEQ of the construction equipment can be modeled using the equation LEQ মানে হচ্ছে 10 log, এখানে হচ্ছে সামেশন 10 log I by 10 TI। তো এখানে টোটাল নাম্বার অফ কনস্ট্রাকশন হচ্ছে n, LI হচ্ছে নয়েজ লেভেল অফ ডেসিবল ইন দ্য স্যাম্পল, দেন T হচ্ছে কি ফ্র্যাকশন অফ দ্য টোটাল স্যাম্পল। ফলোইং ইকুয়েশন ক্যান বি ইউজ টু মডেল। এখান থেকে হচ্ছে কি RP LP2 যেটা আছে LPI মাইনাস কত 10 log R2 মাইনাস R1 এর স্কয়ার এখান থেকে আছে। তো এখান থেকে নোটেশন গুলো আছে। তো ইকুয়েশন 7 explains the portions of the reductions of the sound intensity with a distance that 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 is due to the wave divergence and the barriers and noise pollution level হচ্ছে কি NPL। noise pollution level যেটা আছে সেটা হচ্ছে NPL আছে, the mathematical relationship between the noise pollution NL and the percentage of both linear and non-linear models are given as NL মানে কি A0 plus হচ্ছে A on X, আর এখানে কি NS মানে কি এখানে B0 B on X B2 X square, এখানে A0 A0 A on B0 B on এবং B2 are coefficients of the regression model. Then noise pollution level NPL can be estimated from the values of NLX using the following model. এখানে একটা মডেলের এখানে দেওয়া আছে, দেন তারপর এখানে নোটেশন গুলো মানে এখানে দেওয়া আছে। তো it has been found that the value of the NPL is higher than the maximum value of the field measurement and thus serves as a useful tool in the noise pollution modeling and the regulations. Then water quality modeling এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে সেটা হচ্ছে যে এখানে dispersion models are available which can assess the cumulative impacts of the particular pollutant from a number of the different point sources and stimulate the dispersion of the pollutant under different tidal or flow condition. The model can be run to establish what additional impact certain sources of the pollutant will have and relative to the overall water quality criteria. Typical factors that are modeled are BOD, dissolved oxygen, coliform bacteria, sediment and chemical concentration এগুলো হতে পারে। ইকোলজিক্যাল মডেলের মধ্যে আছে cumulative effects of impacts on species, populations and or habits can be examined using the models which represent the component processes of the natural ecosystem. Applications of the ecological models which have been used successfully are mainly in the field of forestry. In these cases, the fragmentations of the forest has species or stream bed conditions within the area, and the variables considered by such a model might include the effect of the habitat loss, genetic isolation and the age effects. However, the methods are equally applicable to the numerous other ecosystems where the model exists, and because the simulation models focused on causes and effect linkage, they can generally differentiate the additional and interactive processes. As such, they offer one of the best prospect of the analyzing specific pathways of cumulative environmental changes. Then conclusions এর মধ্যে যেটা আছে, the need of openness and high scientific quality in the impact predictions is obvious, and the use of the mathematical and computer models are systematic models of evaluating the environmental impact or the effects of a project or a plan has been recognized for several decades. Then mathematical and computer models are evaluations and analytical tool which enables the qualifications of the cause and effect relationship by simulating the environmental conditions of a system, and this can range from the air quality or noise modeling to use of a model representing a complex natural system. The use of the modeling tools in the EIA will increase the ability to present quantified results from the field studies, which will contribute tremendously towards the improving environmental practice and improve the quality of the EIA reports, and it will also enhance the development of a common framework for stakeholders, corporations and the development projects. Then environmental model serves as a valuable tool for regulatory purpose and the policy making and research approach. Predicting simulations must be viewed as estimates dependent upon the quality and the uncertainty of the input data. Models can be used as a predictive tools, and however, the field monitoring must be incorporated to verify the model predictions. The environmental modeling builds bridges between the scientific communities understanding of the key environmental issues and the decision making need to influence relevant policies and regulations on the basis of the best available information. Then this is the references we can see. দেন তারপর এখানে কি আছে, স্টার্ট আছে, দেন ফিজিক্যাল এনভায়রনমেন্ট, দেন ম্যাথমেটিক্যাল ফর্মুলা, দেন ম্যাথমেটিক্যাল ইকুয়েশন সম্বন্ধে কি আছে, নিউমেরিক্যাল মডেল, অ্যানালিটিক্যাল মডেল, দেন হচ্ছে কি ফুগাসিটি মডেল যেটা আছে মডেল ডেভেলপমেন্ট প্রসেস যেটা আছে ফুগাসিটি মডেল, দেন গেল